I'm beyond excited to have this conversation today with Hemma Haridin and to introduce her to my friends, my tribe, and anyone else who comes across this video. So Hemma is an author, healer, investor, multidimensional being, and so much more to me. But before we dive in, I just want to speak to why I feel this conversation right now feels so perfectly timed. And that is because in less than 2 weeks, I believe, a new round starts of the 8 Chakra Activation Incubator. And so this conversation will reveal more about Hemma, your work, the school, the incubator. And so if you're watching and anything resonates and you resonate with the truth bombs that Hemma will be dropping, no pressure on you, then please go and check the incubator out and Hemma and her work, because this is truly how I ended up even meeting you. Like, I just watched a video passing by on Facebook, watched the second one, and I just knew, and I ended up in the incubator. So Hemma, is there anything else you want to add to this introduction about yourself or the incubator, or we just go
I mean, you did a great job. So I'm happy to meet all of your people and just be with them and share space and talk about whatever it is that they need to hear.
Cool. So we both love transparency, so just want to share how this conversation is even happening. Like last week, I sent you a message being like, Hemma, I just want to talk to you about these 3 topics because I feel like there's a lot of misunderstanding about these in, let's say, spiritual communities. Or these are 3 things that I feel like you, your work, and the school, the incubator, are really different at. So let's dive in. First of all, I want to talk about the end of seeking. What I've seen for myself and many other beings that are on this, let's say, spiritual journey or awakening path, is that they end up in this seemingly endless cycle of seeking, of trying, of reaching. So can you just speak to that, as well as to why you see it is so important to end that cycle?
So what I recognized when I allowed myself to really open up to my spirituality and my journey and going deeper beyond 3D realms was that every time that I would get into a spiritual circle or some type of modality or just try to find a community to dive deep in, that there was just this discrepancy. I'm just going to use that word, like this discrepancy in what I felt and what I knew to be true and in what other people were saying or how they were acting or in the way that they were embodying the knowing or the material. So I quickly kind of just recognized that, like, I am who I am, and I've always been this being. I've always been this being that was awake and aware to a greater reality. And I always knew how to, and this is like a big term that people use, remain the witness, like just be the witness or whatever. And that was just an innate part of my being. And so what I also saw in these spiritual circles is that there wasn't this ownership, there wasn't this anchoring of who they were. There was this energy of seeking. And for me, there's a difference between seeking and stepping into your knowing, but being open to the unknown. There's a huge difference. So it's like in your true state, you know who you are, you're anchored in that knowing, but you're so open to what you don't know. And you're so open to the unknown, and you're so open to new information, new levels of seeing coming in simultaneously. And you're able to hold that. So I quickly grew out of every community that I stepped into very quickly within a few weeks, just, through the conversations that I was having with certain beings. I just recognized that I really had to isolate myself from those spaces. And one of the main reasons why we did create the school is because I know so many of us, we are looking for that tribe. We are looking for that community. We're looking for people to co-create with, even if it's just energetically. But not many beings are experiencing that level of awareness that we have, or maybe we cannot communicate with them in that specific way that we're really longing to. So I had a few experiences of meeting beings that were on that level that I could communicate with, and I saw the potency and the power of that. So it was just like, okay, what if we create a community from that place? And not to jump ahead, but I was just like, I'm not going to pretend that I don't know. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not realized. I'm not going to pretend that I'm less than or lower than any teacher that is out there, because I just know, I just trust myself, and I just trust my being, and I trust that if there is not something, if there's something that I'm not seeing, that I'm going to be open to seeing that, and that I can claim myself as being that realized being and still continue to work on myself and do it simultaneously and hold myself at that highest level of discernment. So my main message is like, we can be both, and we can do both, right? We can be powerful, we can be humble, we can be all knowing and not know shit. We anything. But we can and I don't know, your audience is PG-13 and above.
Oh
Um
my goodness.
we can hold those states, and we can allow ourselves to own it. And it's about taking ownership and really anchoring and really embodying that light, that being, that pure essence, that pure intelligence that you are. And there really just has to come to a point where you're just like, I'm not going to chase anything. I'm going to stop chasing anything, whether it's spirituality or money or a business or a partner or drugs or alcohol or food or whatever it is that you feel like you're giving your power away to. You come to a point where you're like, I'm not going to do this anymore, and I'm going to trust my intuition, and I'm going to trust my knowing. But a lot of us that have that level of remembrance, we also have this like built-in thing about humility and honoring our teacher and having devotion and all of those beautiful principles, that it interrupts each other. So I feel like I just wanted to create that space where we could feel all of those things and be all of those things and explore all of those things at the same time, and communicate and commune with each other in that place of mastery, but also humility, in that place of knowing that we can create, but also knowing that everything is created simultaneously, and really allowing ourselves to anchor in and harness that energy and that potency of that intelligent field, and just allow ourselves to rest in that place. And I feel like that's the simplest way for any being that feels like they have a mission or they have a calling, is to really allow themselves to embody that energy. And I always use the word simple because it is simple, it is innate, it is what you are. But if there's conditioning that's in your way, then you just have to release those programs and remove that conditioning and really allow yourself to expand. And that's what I saw was missing in a lot of spirituality, because there's a lot of rules and regulations that I don't necessarily like to follow. Even though I say eighth chakra, I don't care about eighth chakra. I don't care what it's called. It's, for me, it's just a gateway to infinity. It's just a pointer to like, okay, you have a body and then you're also cosmic consciousness, and this is a bridge between bringing in that cosmic consciousness, like this space, this area, this essence, this gateway that exists between who you are in the physical, and in the non-physical you can tap into it and you can call it whatever you like. It doesn't matter the name, but as long as you're able to access that gateway and feel into that essence and dive into that place and pull it in, that's really all you need in this life to merge with all that you are. So yeah.
Like, by now already, the people will know. By now you'll know. She just spoke the word, people. No, that was really beautiful. You were just talking about merging. And so one of the main things that I feel like it was like such an aha, or like such a realization, and such a like, of course, or in homecoming, when we really went into merging self-realization and self-actualization. So please talk about that. But also, some people, I also have some Dutch audience, so some people might not even be familiar necessarily with these spiritual concepts. So could you just define what they are, and like the merging?
Yeah, so self-realization for me, self-realization is knowing that you are beyond this body, tapping into you being all of creation. That's what realization is. And having that deep recognition, that deep remembrance that you are the universe itself. Simplest, like that's the simplest way to put it. And then to go even beyond that, that you are beyond and before creation itself, and to remember that, and to really feel that and radiate that and allow that to permeate through your essence. That's what realization is. Then what that allows you to do is you see through the entire illusion that we're playing here. And this is where a lot of people get tripped up, because once you recognize that this is all an illusion, you're like, what am I even doing in this body? What am I even doing in this realm? Like, what? How? Right? Like, how does this come together? What self-actualization is the realization of why you came into the body, that blueprint, that essence, the intent you embodied for a reason. And what was the intent through of that embodiment? What was the intent of manifesting into a physical body? What did you want to experience here? What did you want to create? What did you want to learn? What did you want to exchange with other beings? So originally, what I feel like spirituality has pointed to is just that realization, because the where the collective was at was in a place of only knowing the body, only knowing the physicality. So you almost had to go to the other end of the spectrum and just take everybody out of the body and away from that to realize. I feel like where we are now, times have changed greatly, and there's just a lot of waves and a lot of things happening. But now it's really coming into merging that, so that we can anchor that light here, so that we can truly self-realize and actualize simultaneously. So all that means is knowing who you are beyond your personality, beyond the concepts, beyond your limiting beliefs, beyond your programming, beyond your genetics, beyond your ancestry, knowing yourself and all of that, beyond all of that. And then from that place, now truly creating what is meant to be here, truly bringing forward without any dogma, without any language, without any stigma, without any wounds or trauma of the past, bringing forward all that you are able to create. That's the actualization of it. So whether it's creating a course or a piece of art or a piece of music, a company, a product, whatever it is, a nonprofit, like there's so much that you could do here. Actualization for me is doing it from a place of that pure essence and not judgment, not hate, not anger, not rage, not vengeance, not having any of those things as your driver. You don't want to have any of those things as your driver, because then you're contributing to the illusion. You're contributing to the loops of the human game. And I don't want to get too much into that. You know, there's a lot going on behind that. I'm pretty sure people are aware, especially if they're on your page, there's a certain level of awareness. But we are not here to create from that energy. We're here to bring a new energy into creation, an energy of pure intent, an energy of openness, an energy of love, an energy of oneness, of unity, of harmonization. And it there aren't many spaces that exist on this plane where we stand right now to fully experience that. It's not like you can go outside and that's the air that's outside. It's not. So it is up to us to create these spaces, whether they're physical or online or whatever they look like, mountaintop or in the middle of the city. It is up to us to use that realization and create from that place, to create those sanctuaries, to create those sacred spaces, so then that energy permeates. So it could look like as simple as you creating the space in your living room in your home and opening up your doors. Well, not right now because there's a lot going on, but just keep it current with the time.
Just wait a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Or creating huge companies, or creating a small building. Like it doesn't matter what it looks like, or creating a piece of art that goes somewhere in a public space, or creating a community garden. Like it can look so many ways, but it's the physicalization of your realization, right? It's the physicalization, it's the manifestation. The actualization is the manifestation of what you are in the non-physical realms. And this is the energy that's truly going to allow us to shift into a higher density, shift into this place where 3D is an environment of harmony and unity, because we all exist here in these bodies, and we don't feel good in the current climate that exists, in the current environment that exists. So for me, the the intent and the purpose of my incarnation was to bring all of that here, and anchor all of that here. You know, children are born knowing, they just know. It's what was imposed upon them that creates that deep forgetting, and we no longer have to play in that cycle anymore. So for me, the merging of that is just standing in that remembrance and creating from that remembrance, because I know that for me, when that realization truly did occur, because there is always a point in everyone's life where it's like it truly does occur, and you truly awaken to everything, you almost don't want to come back here. And I know many have had this experience, and I talk about it all the time, but sometimes you feel like you just want to leave the body, or you know, there's nothing else for you to do in the body. But what do you do when you keep waking up in the body? Then you have to actually own the fact that maybe I'm supposed to be in one. If I haven't left, I'm supposed to be in one. And what do I do now? So what is next for me to do now? And that's why we created the space that we created, so we can all explore that in a group, in a cohort, where we can just talk to each other from that same level of knowing and lift each other up, so that we can come into that creation mode. Because the creation mode is what truly is the hurdle that I feel for many to cross. It's a threshold that is very difficult to cross, especially when you start talking about money and all of these other 3D things that get in the way, and relationships and communities, and having to deal with all of the other personalities that exist. And we really allow for a space to learn how to navigate all of that.
Yes, beautiful. The key, like what stood out to me, is indeed like bringing it into manifestation and physicalization. And there's so many reasons why being are not able to do that, but I've seen it for myself too. Like there can be the awakening and the remembering and the knowing, and then either being like, oh, but I don't want to go back into the matrix, is how it can feel. I don't want to play the game, so I'm not going to do business that way or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or it can just be like it seems to not work, like the multidimensional abilities or the connection, like on more what I call the energetic or invisible realm, like doesn't seem to match up with what's reflected in your real life, in your relationships, in your work, in like all areas of life. And again, like to me too, is like all bringing it all together. It's not one or the other. We can be it all, we can do it all, we can have it all, create it all.
Mm-hmm. And this is my message to that, because you, for what I see in you is the example of that knowing of how it merges, right? The resolution of the paradox, right? Like, why not do both? And for me, it's always been that, why not do both? So when I see people struggling with one or the other, and I'm like, no, those don't exist. All is one. This what you believe is here, and this what you believe is here, is they're not on two ends of different spectrum. It's all the same thing. So find that place where they merge, find that place where it meets in the middle, and then you can allow yourself to create from that space. So my biggest message is for all the light workers, star seeds, whatever, however you guys want to call yourselves, right? Because you're just this infinite being. But whatever word like draws you to this deeper knowing, just by your essence, you are not contributing to the old matrix. You are not building in the old way. You are not. You are not. Even if you use money, you're not contributing to the old money system. Even if you are building with physical material, you are not contributing to the old system. If you are in your purity and you are in your light and you are holding high vibration, meaning you do not experience anger, you do not project anger, you do not project humiliation, you do not project shame, you do not project guilt, any of those lower emotions, but you do things freely. You do things knowing that all is one and all of the energy is the same. Then anything that you create, anything that emits or comes from your being is pure, it's light, it's your essence, it's all that you are. So do not be afraid. There is not a single reason for you to create, for you to be afraid of creating what you want. There's no reason. There is no reason. Things are going to continue to get created every single day, because people in power, right? People that are pulling the strings know exactly what they want, and they're getting it. And this is the law of the universe, law of attraction, all of that. So when you use that light to know exactly what you want, and you allow yourself to be that magnetic force that you are, because you are a magnetic field, you're a magnetic being. When you allow that, that light has to anchor here. So just do that. Just do that, and do not doubt yourself. Do not doubt yourself, and do not fear. Like that's it. That's the only if I could just
That's
sum
the
up
core.
everything.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yes, it's true. You can still choose to do incubator, but you basically got it all though.
Seriously, like if that was it, go run with it. You don't need to sit with us. You can, and we can
You
have fun,
can, it's fun. Yes, exactly.
but just go create. Like just go create.
So in the incubator and the school, the work you do, like you talk about the blueprint and the essence, let's say. Do you want to speak to that and let's say the difference? Like they again they merge, they come together, but there is a difference. So I always love when you and Nina speak to that.
hmm So your essence is just what you are. You are pure intelligence, and as you allow yourself to come down through the layers and the layers of the densities, and we all know that we reside in addition to this 3D realm elsewhere, right? And on a different dimension, on a different density, the soul, the higher self is watching. So your essence is that original form of all that you are. Because even though we are all one with the universe, we have decided to come down into physical form. And your physical body is not your first physical form. Your first physical form can come in the form of your higher self or that non physical body. You have a non physical body, you have a non physical vehicle before you come into the physical vehicle. So that essence is that outline that you created for yourself using your tone, using what you enjoyed most to experience in the higher realms, whether it was compassion, joy, um, love, whatever it was, whatever rings true for you, that's your essence. Then, as you decided to come even lower and lower and lower just by density or just by frequency, how slow the molecules are moving in your essence on a soul level, they are vibrating very high, very high, very fast. In the lower body, it's slower. There's more processes that have to happen. So as you come down all of those layers, then you start to put a blueprint together. And I just use the word blueprint. I haven't felt into any other word that feels relevant for me, but I'm sure people have other words that they can use. You just have an outline for what you wanted as a soul to experience, a theme. You can actually put it that way also in this life, and you created your experiences based on that, and you have to utilize all the experiences that you created to then merge that with your essence so that you can physically create something here. And the difference comes with not knowing how the two can coexist. We have a
I thought
storm.
I saw lightning. I was like, of course it happens. Of course.
That's the merging of the tone and the essence and
Exactly.
you
True,
know the
true.
difference comes because that essence, it's such a high frequency that you almost don't know how to bring it into this dense reality. You almost don't know how to maintain that purity. You don't know how to maintain that frequency as you create, because you feel like you have to create with all these dense materials. So this is where that knowing of you are the creator comes in, and you have to allow yourself to be, and I'm going to use this word specifically, the manipulator of your reality. We are manipulating our environment. Just by having this conversation is a manipulation of the environment. So manipulation is just molding. It's just molding. It's just creating the environment through your thought, through your will, allowing yourself to bend and flow with the thought forms that are around you, allowing yourself to use those thought forms to just pull it in and then create, and just allowing yourself to physicalize, to be that physical essence. And for me, that's where the blueprint comes down, is because then you can take it as a cue and you're no longer confused. Because if you allow yourself to tap into what your blueprint is, then you are your own master, you are your own guide, and you can use your intuition. You can co-create with other people, but then you can truly use your intuition to just say, I know this is what I need to do, I know this is what I came here to do. And then you can truly co-create with other beings and maintain your essence, maintain all that you are, not lose yourself in creation. And for me, this is why it's important to know the difference and know how they feel, but then also know how they work together. You can never lose yourself in creation if you're creating from all that you are. So you probably hear the rain and stuff that just came down, all the dramatic effect that's behind me.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect scene. Yeah, beautiful. I love it. I think this is a really good point for all those that, like, I hear it a lot from people, right? They want to co-create, they want to start building communities, and then there's that deep longing for tribe and togetherness. And then when I look around so far, there's so many things don't come into that full fruition or into that full physicalization of it. And I think this is part of it. Like, we first, let's say, have to come from all that we are, like what some in spiritual communities can be termed like being self-sourced or being sovereign, like those type of things. But it's truly the key, and then we come into the collective feeling, into harmonization and all of that. So
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, if you're truly sovereign, you can play with anybody. You can play with anybody. You don't have to worry about triggering anybody or projecting on anybody. And like that's like where I feel like the spiritual community kind of stays trapped. Like yeah, I get it. I understand you do have to purify and you do have to you have to clear these things, to just truly be aligned and feel at peace with yourself. But don't over purify, right? Don't just sit in silence by yourself. If your essence is yearning to play with other beings, if your essence is yearning to co-create and to collaborate, this is how we gather, this is how we expand, this is how we allow communities to form. And what is unity consciousness? It's allowing every single being to unify amongst each other. There would be no need for unity consciousness if we weren't all individuals. It's like we're individuals for a reason. We individuated for a reason. Let's just get to the remembrance of why and how to create from that place. And I'll put a little disclaimer, this is not necessarily for the novice, although it can be, but you truly have to have this this dedication to being your highest self. I'm just going to put it that way, this dedication to recognize when you're acting from a lower nature, when you are acting from something that is not your true essence, not your true light, and you have to call yourself out on it. And you also have to recognize when you need to remove yourself from certain environments. Sometimes we stay in environments because we think we're transmuting them, we think we're learning a lesson, all of this other stuff. But sometimes we're keeping ourselves there because we're afraid to move up. We're afraid to level up. And we really have to sit there and say, okay, have I mastered everything that I needed to master on this realm, in this space, in this area? And then now how can I expand some more? And that's what we created the space for, is like those that are ready for the next level of expansion. Okay, you had your realization, what's next?
Did you already have that as a quote? Because that's a good one. Right? That's a good one.
No, we'll put
which is in many other spiritual communities or different types of works, what I see is, right, they all have their own way of operating. And it can be really beautiful, right? They create a new way of relating or communicating and all of that. But it comes this tribal thing, like this is how we act, this is how we speak, this is how we meditate. Like you said, there can be so many rules. And what I found then is that anyone who doesn't operate in that same way is actually not them, is not met with that much support or love or compassion or tolerance even. So diversity is not that much love. It's like, no, let's all try to be this spiritual type in this way. So what I love so much in the Blueprint community, and we mentioned this on one of the last calls, like we feel that this is where diversity is truly honored and celebrated. So speak to that.
yeah, I mean, your cohort was like, it's so beautiful because
Yes,
it was
diverse.
the most diverse cohort. And when I just want to clarify what I mean when I say that, but like your cohort had, everyone had like a completely different blueprint and a completely different essence. Whereas the other two cohorts, they were very similar and it was easy for them to group together and be able to communicate together. But your cohort, just everyone remained as individuals, but then just seeing you guys harmonize, it was beyond amazing. But the diversity for me is key, because here on 3D, in humanity, we are all diverse beings, and we play different tones, and we have different blueprints. And to truly harmonize is to be able to honor all of that. And you are absolutely correct in the sense of like, other spiritual communities have a specific way of doing things. And I think one of the big, this is funny, because one of the biggest suggestions in the cohorts was to have more structure. And I'm just like, no, no, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell you when to meditate, when to pee, when to breathe. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to tell you how I'm living my life on a day-to-day basis, because that doesn't matter. That does not matter. I want you guys to tap into your intuition. Like, yes, I created a school and I'm creating a space to teach or to guide others, but I only want to guide you to your intuition. So tell me when I'm wrong. Tell me when something doesn't feel good for you, because that's how we truly learn. That's how we learn who we are and what we truly are here to do. And then that's how we honor our differences. Because I can sit in meditation for 3 hours a day, and this is what I was doing, 3 years ago, but now I don't meditate. There's no need for me to meditate where I am right now. Everything is a meditation for me. Every moment of the day is just being in that state. But then, you know what, a month from now, I know I'm probably gonna, when things start picking back up, I'm probably gonna have to take a few seconds and sit down for 20 minutes and just center in. So I'm not gonna give specific directions, because where everyone is at is different. And what I feel like the biggest distortion, I'll use the word distortion, that occurs in spiritual communities is like, to awaken Kundalini, you need to breathe a certain way. To have realization, you need to meditate a certain way. You need to do yoga, you need to eat green, blah, 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 which can be untrue. It can be untrue. There is no framework for your soul to awaken. It isn't. It's just the intent and the desire that you have to awaken that awakens you. That's it. That's it. And I see so many people that can easily awaken, but they have these programming from teachers or Buddhism or Hinduism or whatever it is, that says you have to do it in a certain way and it cannot be done any other way, or ancestry or whatever it is. And all of that is untrue. All of that is untrue. The reason, for me, the reason why I was able to see through this so clearly is that I was raised as a Hindu. And it's interesting because my family never really spoke about the absolute or whatever. It's there. It's the underlying basis. But that wasn't like a thing that we were talking about. And I was raised in what people considered spirituality. And for me, it was like just life. So when I went into spiritual communities, I was like, what? Like, why are you practicing this thing? It's like, I was raised like this. Like, what are you looking for? I'm confused. Like, it didn't give me answers. I left. Right. So for me, it was like, okay, no, the essence and the intent of certain texts or certain teachings is just for you to understand the essence and the intent of it, which is just to help you awaken, not for you to take it verbatim, not for you to take it literal and word for word, that like, oh my God, if you don't eat a raw salad every day for the next 6 years, you're not going to awaken. No, like that's not what it is. And when you came to the retreat, like you saw I ate a whole burger right before I was like hosting the retreat, because when you truly are in that power, you mold everything. You mold everything to be your essence. You mold everything to harmonize and to work with you. And then you allow for that open space for others to be in their power and be in their harmonization, for them to come into that power themselves. And that's how we create new living systems. And not to get too much deeper into that, but that's like the next phase of the school, and what we're doing is to create those living communities, those living systems where we are working with the earth and for the earth and her people. And what we are creating is from that place, so that we can really live in harmony, not only with each other as human beings, but on this planet, for the planet, with nature, with plant life, with animal life, with mineral life, and really take the essence of everything that exists here on this plane and be one with it. on a physical level. Seems like a big task, but it's not.
We'll go back to what you said before. It is simple.
And then disclaimer on the burger, you know, there is a level of discernment that I have when I'm consuming something.
Yes.
You know, I'm communicating with the animal, I'm blessing it, I'm communicating with that soul. I'm making sure that the source of the meat and the way the production was, or even the restaurant that I'm eating at, has all of those values in place. And that's something that you recognize, that don't consume anything unless the source that it comes from has those alignment in those values. And there are many places that exist there. You know, even to the beings that prepare our food at the retreat, like just making sure that that
Absolutely.
alignment is there.
Totally. So yes, very true.
You know, just want to add that both in there, and not necessarily going to go consume things at a place that hasn't treated the animal with respect. So just to give you both ends, and just to see how that can come together. But also for me, after dissolving and having that remembrance of my absolute nature, there was this stiffness. There was this like, I don't even want to talk in this reality. I don't want to say anything. Like, there's nothing to say. There's nothing to communicate. There's nothing to exchange with. There's nothing to do. There is nothing to do, because there is no other and there is no illusion that exists. However, I also had a daughter that was like, where's my mother? Like, literally, like, where are you? I can't feel you. And I'm like, I'm not even your mom anymore, because like, this is just not it. And she was at a level of awareness of completely understanding, like completely understanding that we are just in bodies playing a role. And so I was very blessed to have that type of relationship with my daughter. But then it was like, how can we make this work? Because she would say things to me. Actually, she says this one line that's so funny, and I always have her permission to share certain things. But she goes, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Like, that's what she would say to me. She's 15 now. And so we would be like, okay, so how do we make this fun? How do we play? How do I come back into having this relationship with you, and engaging with you, but just still be in that place? And for me, that's really what was the desire and what was the pull to merge the actualization and the realization. Was that like, she chose me for a reason. She chose to incarnate through me for a reason. She wanted something from that exchange, and I chose to have her to create that exchange. Why would we throw it all away just because I've realized? Because I don't want to communicate. I don't laugh at her jokes anymore, or, you know, I don't, because, you know, we all, like those of us that have that seriousness, we understand what that place is. It's that stabilization of being that witness and not necessarily having to engage with the reality. But then after you do that, and you're still here and you're still in those relationships, what do you do? And how do you find that place to make it fun and to play and to still check yourself, right? To still know that you're just doing it from that purest tone. You're not trying to get anything from the other being. You're not trying to have them do something a specific way. You are honoring all that they are, while honoring all that you are, and playing. That's a pure illusion, right? That's a pure game. That's pure essence. That's pure play. That's what I want to experience here. And that is my desire, and that is my drive. And I feel like all children want that experience. And we're all children in our hearts, right? That we never left our child body. It just grew up, right? So you're still that pure essence. And we just want to play, and we just want to have that safe environment, like a truly safe physical environment, to experience all of that. And that's the purpose of merging everything, is to create that safe environment here, where all beings have equal opportunity, equal chance to experience the highest that they want to experience, because there's a call that we no longer want to experience suffering on this plane. We are finished playing that game. We're finished being the victims. So how do we create the next level of this? How do we create that opening, that awakening for us to see ourselves and still have an experience here? And I feel like that's what we're playing with, and that's what we're calling into the school, is like those beings that want to operate at that level, and want to play at that level, because there's a way that we can do it, but the way that we do it is by practicing with each other. And like, yes, we can be in a room, and this is what I love, and this is what I was able to see at the retreat. We can be in a room and at a table and laugh and play and have jokes, and then the moment that we need to just drop in and be silent, we just drop in and we're just silent, and we hold that for as long as it's needed, and then in the next moment we do the next thing that feels good in that moment, and then we operate completely free, no strings attached at all. We're allowed to just truly be ourselves and see each other and play in that community. I feel like that I don't know how many of us were at the retreat, but just really being able to sit and hold that space and play and be in it show me that it's possible. These communities are possible and we can do it, and we just need to continue doing it.
I think this is my final question for now. You know, I always have more questions for you, but let's say for this conversation, love to hear it through whatever comes out your mouth right now. Like, who are you calling into this next round of the incubator?
Who are we calling in? We are calling in the ones that just know they need to be there. The ones that just know. Like, you will know if you need to be there. You know, we have all the videos and the lives and, you know, whatever we've done. And if it feels good for you and it excites you and it resonates with you, and you just know that you're meant to be with us, that's who we want. That's it. And that true knowing and that true mastery, like, yeah, I'm supposed to be there, because that's really all the cohorts, like, yeah, like everyone that we interview to come in.
True.
I just know how to be there. Great, then we need you.
And I think you asked though, like, why are you wanting? And I was like, I don't know. I just saw a video and I know, right? And so it is. That is actually exactly what it is. And then, like, for me, like, so if you're on the receiving end of this video, if you're watching this, let's say, and there is that knowing, to not hesitate it, because in the past, or then doubt can come in, right, or like creep in, but no, just stay with the knowing. You know it. So follow that. Follow it. You won't regret it. Hmm. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. I always love the potency of your words and the energy that comes through. And yeah, taking this time. And I'm so excited for this next round of the incubator, more beings joining the Blueprint community, and more masters stepping into who they are truly. So
And
thank
that's
you
what
so
I'm
much.
always excited for, is just holding the space and then just being with the other masters and just being. Thank you.